Well, never a dull moment in the National Football League, never a dull moment, certainly with the Indianapolis Colts. Welcome back, everybody. A lot to talk about. A big show today, podcast-wise, on the Jack Doyle podcast. That's former number 84 right there, Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor. Welcome into the Colts podcast channel, and welcome to Week 15 here as the 8-5 Colts look to snap a 3-game losing skid on the road coming up on Sunday against a good Seattle Seahawks team, 10-3. They've won 3 in a row. They got the home field advantage, and they're one of the best teams in the NFC West and vying for the top spot, believe it or not, in the NFC here in a couple of weeks when the playoff standings are finalized. Jack Doyle, whoa, big news, big story. Your guy, former teammate, Philip Rivers. We're going to spend a lot of time, obviously, today talking about this. This is coming out on Thursday. We are taping this ahead of Thursday, so we still haven't, as we sit here and talk to you right now, we haven't heard any updates on or from Shane Steichen when it comes to the status of the Colts quarterbacks with Riley Leonard, or where is Philip Rivers? Brett Rippon, is he a viable candidate to start for the Colts on Sunday at quarterback? So a lot of TBD as we sit here and have this conversation, so keep that in mind. But Jack Doyle, Philip Rivers, last played for the Colts in 2020, last played in the NFL in 2020. The Colts are certainly in a precarious situation right now, right? Last Sunday against the Jaguars was kind of the worst case scenario. You lose that game, you lose footing inside the AFC South, you lose your starting quarterback in Daniel Jones. Riley Leonard, the rookie out of Notre Dame, comes in. He gets banged up. Again, we don't know where he is going into Sunday. And the Colts they didn't have a whole lot of options, right? Philip Rivers was called. He came in, worked out. He's on the practice squad as of right now. That's the preface. That's the setup for all of this. Jack, your thoughts on where the Colts are at right now with Philip Rivers in the fold?
Yeah, Matt, like you started the show, never a dull moment, right, in the National Football League. And but yeah, hey, I'm rocking the hat. I have to mention the hat that that's the hat that's too small for my head. Nuncepi, that's Phil's go-to phrase. It's Latin for now I begin, and basically it's just
here we go.
It's the next play mentality. We've talked about it a lot on the show, and everything. He uses it all throughout his life, and man, I love Philip Rivers, and I can't speak highly enough about him. This is going to be quite entertaining, and I'm super excited to see where it all goes.
Well, let's start to unpack it, right? This is like an onion. There's a lot of different layers.
A lot of layers.
Let's start with just where the Colts are at, okay? I get why fans are taken back by this, surprised by this, sort of astonished. I get it. I was too. I was blown away when I saw these reports. But think about where the Colts are at right now. They're down their starting quarterback. Their backup quarterback is hurt. We don't know if Riley Leonard's going to be able to play. Give it a go. It's Week 15. It's December, right? There's 4 games left, and the trade deadline has come and gone. There's not a lot of options out there, right? So when you think it through and the dust kind of settles on just the wow factor of hearing about the news, it's logical to me how the Colts got here. Do you see it the same way? There's not a whole lot of viable options out there.
Yeah, like you said, there's not a lot with where we are in the season.
Yeah.
This Week 15, we're a playoff team. Like we're trying to get to the playoffs, and there's not a lot of options. And when you're a coach, right, this is the first thing I thought of. And especially when you're trying to have someone go out there in the quarterback position, you have to have someone you can trust, right? And there's not a lot of options out there, and I know for a fact there's no one Shane Steichen trusts more than Philip Rivers, and they just see football the same way. And if it ends up being Phil, man, it's gonna be a show. He's just, like I said, I have so much respect for Phil, and the fact that he wants to do this just shows what he is as a football guy, man. He just loves the game. And like you said, Matt, there wasn't a ton of options out there, so you're trying to do the best you can to get this team a win, because a win will cure a lot in the way this past month has gone.
Well, follow me on this, right? If you bring in guy off the street, and by the way, the guy off the street is on the street for a reason,
right?
This late in the season,
right,
when 32 teams are competing still, right? So you've got to factor that into it too. So if you have insert name here versus Philip Rivers, obviously you're going to work out Philip Rivers to see where he's at conditionally, physically, arm strength. And you have to do that with everybody. But you have to also ask yourself, where is Phillip Rivers in this playbook, and understanding what Shane Steichen wants to run and be about. And then insert name guy here, he's never played with Michael Pittman Jr. or Alec Pierce or Josh Downs or Tyler Warren, and he's probably never interpreted this Shane Steichen offense as well. So, right, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you tip the scales, it's Phillip Rivers, because at least mentally, for the most part, you don't have to get him up to speed.
Yeah, no, Phil's going to be able to come in here and communicate the offense, right? The offense hasn't changed, right? It was the same with Frank Reich, you know, the same terminology at least. I could go in there right now and I would know what to do on most plays. Maybe there's a few things here and there, some checks that are a little different that maybe Daniel had in his past, and, you kind of cater to the quarterback.
Yeah.
But Phil is going to be able to go in there and communicate with all the guys. Obviously he played with Pitt, played with Mo, played with Nelson, played with Jonathan Taylor, played with a lot of guys. And Phil is so sharp and has such a unique way in the way he communicates with everybody, and just making it simple, not only on himself but for the player. So he's very unique in that way, and the way he can get his point across. So like you said, in the communication point and having a guy you can trust to get you in the right play, there's not a better option out there than Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, and these two guys know each other very well. Two guys being Shane Steichen and Phillip Rivers. They were together for 6 years with the Chargers, when Shane was the quarterback's coach for a couple of years, offensive coordinator. They're together with the Chargers between San Diego and L.A. when the move happened. How much do you think – I'm sure they still talk too. In fact, I know they still talk. Right? I'm sure Shane – throughout course of time of this regular season is sending clips down to Fairhope, Alabama, to Phillip Rivers and saying, hey, this week we're playing the Broncos. Here's their front. Here's their personnel. Here's the plays we like. What do you think? Almost like a consultant, if you will. You know what I mean?
I guarantee they're talking checks, and I guarantee they've been talking over these past few weeks when, maybe we struggled a little bit versus the cover zeros and talking with Phil. And, I know Phil's running the same offense down there in Fairhope with his St. Michael's high school team, like the same terminology. I remember I was hanging out with Jacoby. This is a couple years ago, and we FaceTime Phil, and he was kind of going through the offense, right? Going through installing his high school offense, and he was like, "All right, Jack, here's the play. What do you got?" And I could run each play, right? It was the same stuff. So, Phil stayed involved with this terminology, even though it's been 5 years since he's gotten an NFL huddle and called a play. He's been calling it to his son or calling it to his high school team and using all the same terminology.
How much are you still keeping in touch with Phillip?
I haven't talked to him in a while. I talked to him, when the news came out and gave him got your back, let's go get it, man. And he gave a funny Phillip response, which was great, which I'll keep between us. But he's just the man. He's just a football guy. And if there's anyone that can do this, man, I was thinking back of players I played with and who could do this? Who could come back after being out? Yeah, and the two people that came to mind were Frank Gore and Phillip Rivers. That's
Frank
it.
Gore,
That's it, right?
Ageless Frank Gore.
Yeah, that's it. These are guys that are just all about football and just can come in and make a difference whenever they want to. Really.
Yeah. Well, it's been about 5 years since he last played. All right. So again, excuse me, if he goes out there and starts on Sunday, which again, as we're sitting here talking right now, we're a long way from definitively knowing that, but hypothetically, if he's out there against the Seahawks, it's going to mark 1,800 days since he last played a game in the NFL. That would be the third most days between starts among quarterbacks who did not play between them. That is according to the Elias Sports Bureau. He last played January 9th, 2021, which is the 2020 season. That's a playoff game that year. You know about the game, unfortunately, a loss in the playoffs to the Buffalo Bills, 27-24, a game in which the Colts absolutely should have won, but I digress. But again, that is a long time for anybody. I don't care if you're I'm 40 years old, and he's in much better shape than I am, and he's 4 years older than me, Jack Doyle. So tell me, how much do you think conditioning is going to matter for Phillip Rivers? I know he's playing quarterback, and he's not running 100 yards goal line to goal line every play, right? But he still has to be out there and take hits and run around and navigate the pocket and things like that.
Yeah, conditioning. I'm sure Phil has stayed in shape, and I know he's working out, lifting weights. I know he was always kind of into that, even when he was playing, and probably feels honestly like waking up in the morning, he probably feels better than he did in January, whatever that was, after that Buffalo game. But the thing you do worry about is the conditioning. And not only the conditioning, you can go run on a treadmill all you want, but football shape is just different. And when you got to go in there and you go into a hostile environment and your adrenaline starts going, and then you got to get in that huddle and call a play, and then, do it again, and do it again.
Yeah.
That's the concern, right? And when you're out that long. But again, if there's anybody that can figure it out, it's this guy right here. I mean, he's just got something to him that's just different from anyone I've been around.
I mean, again, you sit here, you look at the possibility, the idea of him looking over a Seattle defense who is number 2 in scoring, 17 points per game, haven't given up a touchdown in the last 2 games, and Phillip Rivers looking over, peering over the line of scrimmage. I mean, it's not – I guarantee he's going to look at that defense and say, I know exactly what you guys are running. Yeah. I know what you're in. I know what you're doing here.
He will. He'll know if the backers
5 years later.
He'll know if the backers are misaligned, and Mike McDonald's going to yell at him in the meeting the next day. That's just his brain is just.
He's going to point it out.
Yeah, he is. I mean, that's what he did when I was playing with him. He's just so unique the way his brain works. I remember, we'd be sitting in meetings in that 20 season. And preparing for whoever. Say we're preparing for the Steelers that season, and Phil would see a pressure that the Steelers brought. A SAS pressure. They're known for that, and that's Sam Strong safety. And Phil would be like, "Hey." Talking to Nick Sirianni, who was offense coordinator at the time. Hey, I remember we did this back in, it was 15 with the Chargers. Week 6. I think it was like second drive of the third quarter. And we ran a cut, we ran a sail concept to beat it. Pull that up, show that to the guys. That's what I want to get to if when I see this pressure. Lo and behold, there it is. We watch it. Him hit Gates on an out route, and we run it in the game that Sunday. I mean, that's just – this guy's just – and that was, 6 years ago that he's remembering play. So he's just the way his brain is just wired is different, man. And it's going to be quite a show to watch him, if this is the way it goes and going to Seattle and trying to go win a football game.
And you know who else is exactly like that? Shane Steichen.
Yeah. And they can communicate that way. Oh, because they can be like, they don't have to break down where everybody was. They'll be like, hey, you remember that pressure we got in 2016 against blah, blah, blah? Yeah, that's what we want to do. And then they're done talking about it. And they move on to the next play. And it's just like, and everyone else is standing.
Like they share the same brain.
Yeah, everyone's standing around like, what'd they just say? Like, and they're like, don't worry about it. We'll install it later.
Well, we used to do this. I mean, now it's not funny anymore because Shane's been here a long time. And so, like, he's proven himself over and over in that regard. Yeah. But when he first started here, like the first year on the job, he'd come back and we would just, like, have fun with him and BS with him. And we'd say, all right, we go back to college.
Yeah.
Okay, it's UNLV versus whoever, your junior year. All right, you got the ball at the 6-yard line going in at the goal line. What do you run? He's like, we put the back offset. We run the rollout play. I mean, it's like, dude, you're like a beautiful mind.
I mean,
how do you guys do this?
It doesn't make sense. I mean, I think I got a pretty good memory, but these guys are different in the way they can just and tell you where exactly every person on the field was. Yeah, maybe I can remember what I was doing, but they can tell you where everyone on the offense was. They can tell you where everyone
linebacker trip.
Yeah, they can tell you where all the defense was. What personnel group they were in.
Yeah.
Who was down that week, why they called that play. Just crazy stuff. And again, they're like one brain. So the communication point between player coach. I mean, it doesn't get any better than what we have right now.
Yeah, it's like master control, man. It's amazing. But the irony in all of this, with the Colts trying to make a playoff push, salvage the season, right? Great start, 7-1, and now a major speed bump here, losing 4 of 5 and 3 in a row. But Rivers is the last quarterback to lead the Colts to the playoffs. That year in 2020, threw for over 4,100 yards, 24 touchdowns. He completed 68% of his passes, had a 97 passer rating. You just kind of mentioned a handful of anecdotes and details. Is there anything else? I guess I'm asking big picture. What do you remember about that 2020 season? Obviously, the world was on fire with COVID, and there was so much going on outside of football. But you guys, no pun intended, were kind of in your own little bubble.
Yeah.
So what do you remember most about being a tight end and a key part of the offense with a guy like Phillip Rivers, a future Hall of Famer, as your quarterback?
Yeah, it's funny. I feel like because that was such a unique year, I remember a lot about it. I remember the first time meeting Phil, and we went over to, everything was shut down. We couldn't come to the facility, so we went over to Cathedral High School and ran some routes. And funny story about that, I remember we went over there with... Did
you ask for the key? Is that how you got it?
Yeah, no, you can just... I did sneak on there one time and got kicked off, and I was just like, what?
You know who I am?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't drop that.
Heck?
I didn't drop that. But they not to say they apologized, but they were like, no, you're okay. You can go out there. You can go out there. Coach Peoples helped me out. But
we got a closer look at the facial recognition of Jack Doyle.
But no, we went over there with Phil. I think it was Phillip Rivers. I think Zach Pascal was there. He was in town then. Paris Campbell, I want to say Naheem Hines, and I think it was like the second time we ever threw together, and he probably threw 125 balls. We each ran 20 to 25 routes, and we were done, and Phil's like, oh yeah, that was good. We didn't have a ball on the ground. And it's like, this is the second time this guy's ever thrown to us. Yeah. He just has such a unique ability to understand each individual guy's body movement, which is so rare. That's not I've never been around anyone that could really do that, and just understanding how guys move and being able to adjust how he throws the ball to each individual guy. But there's a lot of fun memories from that year. And, thinking of the way he would check plays, I feel like late in the year, a lot of my catches, in that Buffalo game, and there were some catches late in the year where he was checking out of pressures and able to, and that was the way I was getting the ball and putting us in good plays. So again, it just, his ability to be a coach on the field is just something that you can't replicate with many other guys in this league.
No balls on the ground in a 7-on-7.
Yeah, it was like May, like it was.
But I mean, how rare is that? To not have a ball hit the ground, even with a guy like Andrew Luck, Andrew.
Andrew
did that 1,000 times.
Yeah, Andrew. We could. That was after I'd been with him for 4 or 5 years. But again, the most impressive part is he's never thrown to any 4 of us. Yeah. Like he thrown to us once, I think, before that, and then we go out there and don't have a ball on the ground.
Yeah.
And the thing about Phil too is like he understands. Like he's just such a good teammate too, man. Like. I go into, this. So this is what I'm thinking about Phillip Rivers. I go in there in 2020. I grew up a Colts fan, right? I didn't like Phillip Rivers growing up, right? He had beaten the Colts in the playoffs multiple times.
He's like this little twerp out west.
Yeah, always talking trash and all that stuff. And then I get to meet him. I'm just like, man, this guy's a great teammate. Yeah. He cares about getting to know everyone on the team. I remember we go out there and he's like, hey, let's just play catch for a while. I want you guys to see how he understood that his arm angle was kind of weird, right? He's like, I just want to see you guys catch it coming out of my hand. And like,
I do this sometimes.
Yeah, doing like not too big for anybody. This is a guy probably on his way to the Hall of Fame, but just wanted to be one of the guys, right? Just wanted to be, a member of a team, and no one cares more than Phil. I mean, hearing him talk to the team that year, and when he'd give speeches, I mean, it's just different, man. He's just so unique, and again, a guy I have so much respect for.
I'm a movie guy. Have you ever seen Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
Yeah.
With Jason Segel?
Yeah.
Right. It's like that scene where like the British pop star, like they're in the water, and he's like, telling them all about his career ambitions, even though he's like with his ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
He's like, God, you're cool. You get it.
It's like, darn it.
I want to hate you.
I wanted to not like you. I feel like, and what I compare it to, and thinking of Phil, is like, I'm sure a lot of people felt that like about Reggie Miller, right? Like someone we loved, and then this guy talking trash. I'm like, this is how people felt about Reggie Miller.
Yeah, you love him if he's on your team.
But when he's on your team, it's like, man,
I hate that guy.
This guy is the man, like in every sense of the word. Like there's just so, and just it stinks that we only got that I personally from my perspective that I only got 1 year with him, because I just had so much fun playing with him and just being around him, and it's kind of a shame too, and hopefully the Colts fans get a little piece of Phil now, because it was that COVID year, and it was not a lot of people around and things like that, just to get to know his personality. Right. But he's a great person, obviously a huge family man, so I'm excited to see how this goes.
Again, way down the road.
Yeah, I know. We're getting excited.
I feel like the weekend is like this, thing that's never going to get here with the uncertainty that we have right now. But I do have to ask you, okay, put the shoes of Riley Leonard on for a second, okay? 6th round pick dying to be on the field, banged up, don't know if he can play. That's why Phillip Rivers is here. That's why another quarterback was signed. Jack Doyle, the Colts fan, you're looking at this from the blimp, 30,000 feet up. What is the best option for the Colts? All right, give it to me straight. Well, in reality here, what is the best option for the Colts on Sunday? A banged up, limited rookie quarterback who would be making his first NFL start, or a 44-year-old Phillip Rivers who hasn't played in 5 years, who hasn't played in 1,800 days? What's the best option for the Colts to try to win a game, a marquee game, against one of the best teams on the road in a pivotal gotta-have-it game against or in a place that's incredibly hard to win and play in?
Yeah, that's going to be the hard part for the coaching staff and the front office and trying to figure all this out how if Riley can go, right? Obviously, if Riley can go and he's only somewhat limited or whatever you want to call it, but Riley's probably best strength is his legs. So he's got to be able to move around to be able to give you, what you need out there. So that's going to be the dilemma, right? And coming up and trying to figure out how much Riley can give you because, a healthy Riley, this guy's been through training camp, been with the team the whole year. That's going to give you the better chance in theory, right? And then signing somebody that hasn't played football in 1,800 days.
Yeah.
That's reality. But that's going to be the dilemma in trying to figure out, where Riley's health is at, and if he's too limited, then you go with Phil. I don't know. It makes you think of the game when we played in 2015 when we went with Ryan Lindley and Josh Freeman and kind of did the two quarterbacks, and one guy did, the two, I think it was Lindley did the 2-minute drill.
Yeah,
and
red zone.
Yeah, and then Josh Freeman ran like the base plays, and we went and got a win, you know. But one thing that game did do, we were kind of down and out, and it brought energy to the locker room, right? That practice week, we had a great week of practice, and it kind of, rejuvenated us when we were kind of feeling sorry for ourselves and got us all going to be on the details, and we went out there and got a win.
How did you think Riley Leonard played last week when he was thrust into the game?
Yeah, I think Riley did a great job. I mean, honestly, I think he was solid. He got thrown into a tough situation. The team's all feeling sorry for Daniel. That's just what it was, right? You're feeling down when you lose your starting quarterback, and everyone kind of could assume what was going on.
Right.
But he came in there and competed, right? And came in and made a play, the scrambling around, making the little jump pass to Pierce. That was huge. And I think that kind of hopefully calmed his nerves down a little bit. And then he just showed that he's just a football player, man. This guy knows how to compete. I know a lot of Colts fans are, probably follow Notre Dame and saw him play in his college career and that last year. But just a guy that competes. And, I thought he delivered some accurate balls through some good go routes. I think the go route to Pierce was on the money. Pierce almost made a miraculous catch,
right?
Which probably still could have been a catch. And then, the little back shoulder to Pittman, that was a great ball, right? And a bad call on Pitt there on the OPI. But, I thought he did some really nice things.
All right, just to cover our bases here, again, with this being Thursday, with this podcast coming out, uncertainty at quarterback, to cover our bases here, if Riley Leonard is the quarterback on Sunday for the Colts, what does it look like? How do the Colts play to his strengths and go out there and put a viable game plan together, knowing he might be a little bit limited and compromised with that knee injury?
Yeah, it's trying to figure out what he can do, right? And speaking from the injury, because obviously one of his strengths is being able to move around back there and making plays with his legs. So, if he's feeling pretty good, I think you use his legs to kind of untap, Jonathan Taylor in the run game and making him a viable threat in the run game is going to kind of take another guy out of the box and create more openings for Jonathan Taylor and just keeping it kind of simple for him, right? Maybe it's a little up-tempo stuff and maybe that takes the crowd out of it and then Shane can be in his ear a little longer and making sure they're getting in the right play. So I think and honestly it'll be kind of fun for this coaching staff to draw up a different game plan that the Seattle's not going to be ready for, right? Right now Seattle's probably watching 2019 Chargers film and trying to get ready, and then here comes Riley Leonard, and we're running some zone reads and quarterback powers on third and short, things like that. So two very different guys. So at least it's making Mike McDonald and his staff sweat a little bit.
For sure. There's some gamesmanship here for the Colts.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, they do have, from a prep standpoint, putting pressure on the Chargers or the Seahawks in this case.
Yeah.
They do have some things that they have to spend some extra time on because of the uncertainty of this whole unique situation. One final thing on Phillip Rivers before we close out and turn the page and close the book here. He is one of 26 modern-day era finalists for the class of 2026 when it comes to the Hall of Fame. Okay, but here's the deal. According to the Pro Football Hall of Fame bylaws, a player must be out of the NFL for 5 years before being eligible to go into Canton. So if a player signs with the team, Rivers in this case with the Colts, and he's on the active roster, which as of right now, Phillip Rivers is not. He's on the practice squad, not the active roster. But if he makes the active roster, the clock resets on the Hall of Fame, and Phillip Rivers has to wait another 5 years for consideration. And I think there's a lot of layers and components to this. I mean, every guy that straps on the helmet and puts on the pads one day, whether it's viable or not, wants to go to the Hall of Fame and be enshrined and be a legend and be remembered forever and be the 1% of the 1% of the greatest players who ever played the game. I know it's important to Phillip Rivers, but you also know the type of guy that he is. And you mentioned the kind of teammate that he is and just loving football and having the opportunity to come back, help out a friend and a team in need, but having the chance to just go out there and play the game that he loves. How do you think he's balancing the future and immortality versus the here and the now and just wanting to go out there and be the quarterback that he's always just bottom line wanted to be?
Yeah, again, like you said, Matt, Phillip is an NFL historian too, right? He gets all that, and he knows how, what a huge honor that would be. But at the same time, this guy just loves football more, right? Yeah. And I think that's kind of the balancing act. Maybe he played in his mind for a quick second. It's like, yeah, I'd rather take a chance to go play some more football because, I'll never get that back. And, Hall of Fame or whatever can wait, right? And what a tough, dilemma to kind of, play within your brain. But like I've kind of mentioned here, this guy's just so unique and how much he loves football. I keep coming back I keep thinking if there's any Ted Lasso fans out there and thinking of Danny Rojas running around on the field saying football is life, football is life. Like that's Phillip Rivers, right? That's how he carries himself. You talk to him, it's about football or his family, right? I mean, that's what this guy's about. That's what he was raised on. I know his dad was a coach. So football is life for Phillip. And so he getting the chance to maybe play again, that outweighs all the awards and all that stuff can wait.
And that's why I'm blown away by this because, again, for those that don't know, I mean, there's a lot of politicking that goes on when it comes to making the Hall of Fame. Now with the different voting system and the different rules on who gets in, the amount of guys that can get in, we don't need to go in full detail and all of that. But, it's also who you're up against, right? The other guys that are also eligible at the same time you are, he's going to be kicking the can down the road, and you never know, how that's going to play out based on the guys that are going to be eligible for the first time 5 years after this year, hypothetically.
It's guys that are retiring this year. He's going to reset. Right. That's weird.
Maybe like a Matthew Stafford or something. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, it's weird to think about. But again, I think Phil. Obviously he understands the honor and all that, and it means a lot to him. It really does. He may not say it outright. I don't know. And he, he's always a good teammate, but who doesn't? That's like you said, Matt. That's what we all, kind of play for in the end. Like you want to be remembered. You want to be, given the respect that you kind of earned from the way you played and the way you carried yourself on and off the field. And that's what the Hall of Fame is. So yeah, but this guy's, football is life for Mr. Rivers. And he just wants to play
Rivers.
He wants to play some ball.
He is definitely Mr. Rivers. He's also
Coach Rivers.
Well,
you think that's what they call him in high school?
No pun intended. Yeah. He wears a lot of hats. He's Coach Rivers. He's Mr. Rivers. He's Phillip Rivers. He's dad. He's also a grandfather.
Yes. Yeah, and it's amazing. I remember talking to Phillip, speaking back on that 20 season, and he was it was training camp, and we were talking about, hey, what are you going to do on your off day? And he was taking his daughter to college.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he was doing on the off day. He was like driving her, I think it was somewhere in Kansas at a Catholic university.
Going to Bed Bath & Beyond, getting all the goodies, right?
I was like, you're driving your daughter to college, like, yeah, I'm going to be on the couch, snuggling. I think we had 2 young kids at that point, but I'm like, we're at such different points in our life. And, man, he's just, again, it's just someone I have so much respect for, and the way he carries himself is just something, you want, your kids to emulate.
Yeah. He's a grandfather. I think I did some research on this, and it's very unofficial, but the only other player that I could find that was a grandfather while still playing in the NFL was Brett Favre.
Yeah.
All right, so maybe we'll continue to go down that rabbit hole the rest of the week based on how things progress here. Fascinating times with the Indianapolis Colts, and we'll see what's going on here the rest of the way. All right, real quick, we always wrap up the show with a fun little segment called You Don't Know Jack. We know Jack Doyle, the 2-time Pro Bowl player with the Indianapolis Colts, but let's get to know him a little bit better off the field. Let's go quickly on this, Jack. Question this week is for you to get to know you a little bit better from a personality standpoint. If you could travel back through time, what era or what day would you go back in time and visit and redo?
Ooh, it's a good one, Matt. I think I've kind of made it clear. I'm a pretty big family guy.
Yeah.
So honestly, what I would love to do. So I never met my grandfather, my mom's dad, on my mom's side. Never met my grandfather on my mom's side. So I would just love, and he raised 6 girls. So he was the only man in the house.
Yeah.
And I would love to just
Sounds like a fascinating guy already.
Yeah. I would love to just go. He passed away before I was born, so I would love to just go back in time and like us both be, I'm 35. Us both be 35 years old.
Love that.
Sit down in a bar and have a beer and just pick his brain about life in general and how it's going with the 6 girls and is he okay and all that stuff. But I would just love to pick his brain on just anything and everything. And he was a big Notre Dame football fan, so it'd be fun for us to.
Oh, he'd be mad now.
No, he would not like that they're out. But no, it'd be so fun. My grandparents, I was lucky enough to know my grandfather, my dad's dad, and my grandma is still alive. She's listening, guaranteed. She's 90 years old. And then my mom's mom, Noni is what we called her, but she, they're just my heroes, man. They just, they carried this family. They set the tone for the way you're supposed to carry yourself in this family. And talking about hard work, these are blue collar workers. And they're just the best. So, maybe that's a little cliche. I don't know.
No, not at all. I love that answer.
Yeah, not going back and doing something crazy back in, I don't even know.
Play guitar with Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I guess go watch, was it Wilt Chamberlain's, 100-point game.
There you go.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Yeah, that'd be good. Maybe think of some sports stuff you could go to. But yeah, for me, it's my grandparents.
I love that answer, though,
they're
because
the best.
I'm sure that without you even knowing it, that he's had a huge impact on you, right? Not only like how you were raised, but maybe like indirectly some of your personality traits or something.
Yeah, that's funny. So my mom always says this. So there's a way that I eat, right? And
you eat?
I eat, yes. I love food. I think we've made that clear. But so when I eat, I kind of like, so say this, the microphone's my plate. I kind of like, hover over a guard. I hover over my food. And my thumb's always up for some reason. I think it naturally just does. My thumb, it's like when I put it on the table, my thumb's always up.
Fork, right hand.
Yeah.
Guarded, thumbs up, scoop.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And my mom said, Grandpa Joe did the same thing.
No way.
Yes, did the same. Whenever he put his hand on the table, his thumb was always poking up. And I was just like, that's cool. Like, and especially for me, she told me that when I was maybe like a teenager.
Yeah.
And I remember it being like so cool to me because I never met this man, right? And I've heard so much about him, but like being able to carry one of his traits that he did, and
you don't even know.
Yeah, and it's just like, man, that's so cool. So that's a fun part of family for sure.
Shout out to the Doyles and shout out to Grandpa Joe.
Grandpa Joe, baby.
I love it,
Grandpa
man.
Joe.
Great answer.
Yeah.
Love that stuff right there. Grandpa Joe. Grandpa Phil. We'll see what happens for the Indianapolis Colts. Big weekend for the latest. Again, check out Colts.com. the Colts mobile app. We will have this whole story in real time as it continues to progress and evolve. We'll see what happens for the Colts on Sunday. They need a win in a bad way. 8-5 Colts, 10-3 Seahawks in Seattle. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. The great Jack Doyle. I'm Matt Taylor. We'll talk to you next week here on the Colts Podcast channel on the Jack Doyle Podcast. So long, everybody.